Hello and welcome to Walker Analytics. I'm Wesley Walker, the founder of Walker Analytics, and in today's video I'm going to take you through a full tutorial of Looker Studio. Now Looker Studio was previously known as Google Data Studio, but it has since been rebranded, so now is a good time to get yourself familiar with the tool. But before we begin, if any of you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more Looker Studio videos. Drop a like down below if you enjoyed this, and let me know in the comment section if there's any more Looker Studio or Google Analytics, Digital Analytics, or Data Analytics videos you would like me to do in the future. So when you first land on Looker Studio, which is the URL currently datastudio.google.com, you'll be presented by the home page. And what we see here is a couple of different things, but we have templates here at the top. So these are templated dashboards which you can use on the go if you want to save yourself some time creating a dashboard from scratch. And there are templates for the Google Search Console connector, the Google Ads connector, YouTube data, and some Google Analytics data as well. So you can use these templates to save your time as previously mentioned. If you click into the template gallery, there's actually more templates than you see on the home page. And you can see each template that is available here, and they've all been created by the Looker Studio team. When you click into one, so let's say for example click into Google Analytics Behaviors Overview, it will open up the template and view it for us, and we can see the entire dashboard load. And then we have options here at the top. One is use your own data, so you can change the data source to be your own, and once you authorize it, you have the ability to do so. You can also edit and share, so you can edit and then add your own data to this report, which essentially kind of like makes a duplicate of it. So if we click add to report, we now have this report within edit view now, and you now have the option to make changes, move stuff around, essentially make the dashboard your own. We also on the side here have a few more options. So you have create. So when you click create, you have the option to create a report, which is a dashboard, to create a new data source, or to create, it'll go into the Explorer tab. And you have those same options up here as well with reports, data sources, and Explorer. If you click on create a report, you immediately get an untitled report, which is a blank report, which is created for you. And then I was almost going to say the Google Data Studio then, Looker Studio will open up the options here for you to add a new connector in. So you can create a brand new connector based on Google's own connectors. And there are 23 standard connectors that are offered with Google Data Studio, and then 660 partner connectors, which are connectors that have been created by the community. If you have your own data source already, you can also include that in here. So for example, if I want to use my YouTube channel's data, I can add that in, and you are given a little window to say you're about to add data to this report, and that report editors can create charts, can essentially get access to the data. Let's just say don't show me this again, and add to the report. And then when you do that, immediately a table is created with a standard visualization of your data, just using two popular metrics and dimensions. So because it's YouTube data, looking at video title by the total watch time. You also have the option to create data source, which we pretty much just did through the report panel. However, if you do it directly through here, you're taken to just the connectors section. So you have all of the options here. You have a file upload, you can upload a CSV and visualize that in Data Studio. And then you have the partner connectors again. So if I was to do, let's say YouTube Analytics again, I can see all the accounts I have access to. We have Res Remote, which is my channel, and then you just connect. And then once it's connected successfully, you'll see all the dimensions and metrics that are available to you through the connection. Once you've made that connection, you also can manipulate the metrics and dimensions that pull in. So you can change their name, make it whatever you want. You can delete it, change the name, and you can also change the format type. So if it's not supposed to be numeric, but it's been pulled for as numeric, you can change it to percentage, duration, text, date and time, Boolean values, geography values, which is location, currency, and if it's an actual URL, you can include that in there as well. You also sometimes have the option to change the default aggregation, so you can change that to be sum, average, count, min, max. There are some connectors such as Google Analytics where the aggregation is done for you automatically, and you won't have that option to amend them, but sometimes you do. You can also create new metrics and dimensions as well. So when you click add a field, you are shown an area where you can create a new calculated field, and this can be very useful for just getting more out of your data. So let's say for example that we wanted to work out how many likes we get per video, or views, for example. So our like to view ratio. So if we do, let's say, the sum of, might be video likes added divided by the sum of video views. That's not there. Where is views? There we go. And you could call this like to view ratio. And then when you save that, that will give you a essentially a decimal number of how many likes you get per view. And then, as mentioned before, because we created this in here and it will automatically be aggregated as a number, you can change this to be percent instead. So we have our view to like ratio as a percent. And if we go into the Explore tab, we will be able to see how that metric works. So if we search like to view ratio, we can see that for the specific videos, and we can see that within the date range. So the date range by default is last 28 days. So we can see that for this video here, there was a 50% like to view ratio. So 50% of people who viewed the video ended up liking it, which is very good. And you can see how that is for each video over time. We just briefly went over it, but also you have here is the Explorer feature. So the Explorer feature is just a section for you to just quickly get a glimpse of your data and before building a report. So it can be quite useful to get a good understanding of how your data looks before you start to analyze it and visualize the information. So if I use, for example, this sample Google Analytics data, it pulls in all the information in here that is available. So we can see all the dimensions and the metrics for this data source on the right hand side. So if we wanted to start playing around with this, we can. So we have new users in there, but if you want to pull in, let's say for example, sessions, we can pull that in as well, or events, total events. You can pull that in as well, and then if you want to change the dimension, you can also do that, or add in multiple dimensions if that is something that you want to see essentially. So this is very straightforward. Explorer, it's just an area where you can start to see and understand your data a little bit better. Cool, so you have the recent tab, which is the tab that we're in at the moment. So these are all the reports that you have recently engaged with, so ones that you've seen recently. And then if you click shared with me, you'll see all the reports that have been shared with you directly. So someone else has created them, but they've shared the report with you. And then owned by me, so you can see all the reports that you individually own. This can be quite useful when you have a Looker Studio account that has quite a lot of reports in it, and it can get quite messy when there's lots of reports and you're trying to find specific ones. So being able to filter down by ones that are shared with you and owned by you can be quite useful. There's also the bin as well. So this section shows you reports that you've deleted and are pending permanent deletion. And then you also have data sources and explorers that you've deleted as well, and they'll also appear here when that happens. And you have the link to the templates. And that is pretty much it for the homepage. So the same links here for Data Source and Explorer that you do within the Create tab there. You can also search Looker Studio, so you can search it for specific reports that you've made in the past, and also for usernames as well. So if you know a specific username that's created a report that you're interested in, you can search that and then it will come up in the drop down menu here. So now that we've understood how the homepage works, we can go on to creating our first report. So as you remember from previously, when we were navigating the homepage, when you create a report, you're given the option to add data, because of course your report will need data, and you can create to brand new data, or you can use your existing information. So we're going to use the existing information, and we will use YouTube Analytics information. Cool. So what we can see here is that we have the visualization that's put in place. When that is done, you can see that on the right hand side you have a panel. You have two panels here, and this one includes the setup. So this is the setup for your table, and within it will tell you the data source. So this is the data source that this table is connected to, and you can edit the data source by clicking the pencil icon in here, and you're given the view of the whole data source. And this is where you can add fields or add a parameter and make other changes. You might have noticed here that there are a few options at the top. So you have data credentials, and data credentials are essentially who owns this information. And by default, it will be set to the owner's credentials. So what this means is that when the report is viewed, the data within the report will rely on the owner's credentials to load the information. You can change that to be based on the viewer's credentials, which will mean that if you want extra security for your dashboards and only people who have the correct access can view it, then you can add that credential. But majority of the time, owner's credentials is fine. If you just share the report with specific people rather than sharing it with like an open link, that should mitigate any security concerns that you might have. You have your data freshness, which is by default is set to every 12 hours. For some connectors you can modify this, I believe, others you can't. You also have community visualization access. So what this means is that Data Studio has its core visualizations, and then it also has community ones which have been made by the community. So you have the option to enable this, which means that you can enable community visualizations for your data, or you can just keep this off, so you only use Google's own visualizations. And then you have field editing reports, which just is a simple on or off, which means that you can edit the fields within the setup panel rather than having to come onto this panel and then make the changes. Cool, so we have our dimension here, and what you'll probably have noticed already is that the setup panel is pretty much identical to what we saw in Explorer. So we have our dimension, which is video title, and we can add more than one dimension if we wanted to, or we can change the dimension itself. So let's say, for example, we want to see video title by the thumbnail. And as you can see, that will now pull in, so you can see the thumbnails for the video as well as the video title. And then you have the option to drill down as well. So what drill down will do is it will allow you to, and your viewers, to select specific areas of a visualization, like a table. And then that allows you to just hone in on that specific row. So you can see that when we click on a specific table, it just highlights one and makes the others a bit more opaque, which can just help with focus on what's going on within your data for your viewers. I'll switch that off. When you drill down, you can only drill down on one dimension at a time as well. You can't drill down on multiple. So with metrics, so you have your metrics view here. And when you click it, you can change it to be a different measure. So you can use metrics in here, but you can also do dimensions as well. You can amend metrics also by clicking the pencil icon here. So if you wanted to change it to be, something that's more relevant to your business, you can change the name as well. So if we change it to watch time, just watch time on its own, then that will update the name of the metric, and you see it's updated in the table here as well. You can also, of course, add more than one metric per visualization. So you can also drop in an aggregated average view percentage. And if you go in between the lines of a table, if you double click them, it'll automatically resize every column accordingly as well. So that can be quite a useful trick to know. So you have the optional metrics section, which is where you can add in additional metrics that your viewers can add in when they're using the dashboard. So if you wanted to give people the option to have average watch time, when they click view and they've clicked this optional metrics icon here, they can click average watch time, and then that will be added to the dashboard themselves. So that can be quite a useful feature for your viewers. It's a very small icon, so it can be quite easy to miss, but when utilized, it can potentially be quite useful. You also have metric sliders. So when you view and you select them, you can you can slide what range you want specifically. So if you wanted to reduce watch time, then we can see just the videos where the watch time range applies based on the slider, and you can clear that as well. You can adjust how many rows you have per page of the visualization. You can show a summary row, which would be like a totals row that you typically see within Excel. So if we change this to be only 5 rows instead, you can see the grand total row at the bottom there. So you have the total watch time, which is the sorting. So you can choose this to be anything. So it doesn't have to be a measure that's actually already added to the table. You can choose other measures for it to be sorted by. You can choose descending or ascending. And then you have secondary sorts. You can sort your information by more than one value. It doesn't have to be just one. And then you have your date range. So you have your default date range, which will automatically be set to the last 28 days. And then you can add a comparison range as well. So if you're going to compare to a fixed period, the previous period, or the previous year, or an advanced view, you can do that. And just by clicking them, it will allow you to do so, which is quite useful. And you can see the percentage change for each measure there as a result. So that is the percentage change year over year, which is quite useful. In the advanced tab, you can choose, you have more options. So you can have the start date to be today, and you can have that minus, let's say, something like 365 days or so, and you can have the end date to be whenever need be. So it's something that will move dynamically, which can be really useful for when you're doing analysis that needs to have a dynamic date range. So this view is very useful. And you have filters as well. So filters are a very useful part of Google Data Studio, because you can filter specific visualizations, and you can actually filter an entire dashboard as a result as well. So when you have a filter, you can say include, and then you have your fields that you want to filter it based on. So let's say we want to filter all videos by the country code that is relevant to you. If we just go on the table and change this to be country code so that we know exactly what view fields come up. So you have US, GB. So let's say we just want to filter this to the US. So we can add a filter and include country code equal to US. And we can name this US data. And then click save. And that did not save because it is also case sensitive. So if we click save now, yeah, you can see that it's now pulled in. So now only looking at the country code for US, and then if we change this to be other stuff, so let's say video title, we'll get the video performance for just for viewers that came from the US. So that is very useful thing to know. So you have chart interactions with cross filtering. So essentially what this means is that if you select a field on one chart, it will filter all the other remaining charts on the dashboard as well. So that can be quite useful. And there's similar features in Tableau and Power BI that do the same thing. So after the setup tab, you have the styling tab. So you have conditional formatting, which you can add for your visualizations, and this is specific to tables. You can add single color, so you can have a single color and it will go down in a gradient, or you can have a color scale and then add that and choose your points of like high, low, and medium based on percentages essentially. And you just select the field that you want it to be based on. So we could base it on watch time, for example. And if we click save, that will give us conditional formatting based on watch time. So the higher, the better, essentially. You have other styling options here, so you can choose to show or hide the header for the table. You can wrap the text so that if it's too small, then all of it will still be visible. You can choose the font color for your table, the sizing, and the font as well. Here you can amend the table colors, so you can choose the header background. So if you want it to be red, we can change it to be red instead. We can change the colors of odd rows as well. As you can see, that's changed there. You can change the views for positive trends in your data or negative trends. So by default, positive trend is colored green and negative is colored red, but you can change that to be whatever you'd like. You can change the border color for specific cells. And then you can change the even row color. So if you want a different color for odd rows and even rows, you can do that and it will look as it does here. So you can change the table labels themselves. You can change the font. So if you want it to be a different color, you can do that. You can change the font and the font size as well. You can also have row numbers, which are normally added on by default, but if you deselect them, that gets rid of it. I normally deselect it because I don't think it's necessary in most cases. You can wrap the text of individual rows and also enable horizontal scrolling as well. But in most times, that's not going to be necessary for the table. You can have the table footer show pagination, which allows you to go to different pages if you have lots and lots of information. And then you have compact pagination, which is just slightly more styled essentially. You have footer border color, so you can change the footer border color to be whatever you like it to be. And if it's on none, which it will be by default, you won't see it. But if you change it and change the thickness, then you will begin to see the footer border color. So let's just say it's red for now. And you can choose whether it be a solid footer, dash, dotted, or a double. You can choose what to do with missing data, so you can show null, blank, or zero or no data. Very useful feature. And then you can just order your columns by alignment, so like left, middle, or right. And you can do the same with metrics and dimensions, and you get to choose which column you do this for. You can also choose whether to just show the number for your columns or to show like a heat map or a bar instead. So if we change it to be a bar, you'll see that it chooses coloring, and it's changed watch time to show a bar instead of just a number. You can do the same thing with heat map as well, which is kind of like conditional formatting, but based on the highest values. You can choose to show compact numbers or just normal numbers for your columns and change the decimal position. And then you can choose whether to actually show your compare or to not show it. And you can choose whether you want to see the absolute change. So this will be the difference, or the normal change, which is a percent change. You can then change the background and the border. So the backgrounds can be changed to whichever color you'd like it to be for your entire table. I normally set that as transparent or white. And then you can choose the border radius, so you can add a border on to your table. And you can choose, I believe, the opacity of it. And then you have the border color as well. You can choose what color you want it to be, and then amend the thickness pretty much like you could earlier, and choose whether you want it to be a solid dashed or dotted line. Then you can also add a border shadow, which adds a little shadow around your visualization. And then you can have the chart header, which shows on hover. But you can choose it to not show it at all, or to always show it, or to show on the hover. And you can choose the header font color as well. And that is it for styling. The styling does range depending on what kind of visualization that you have. So you can see if you change it to pie, you get 10 slices view as well, and you can choose how you want to color the information. So by single color, slice order, dimension values. It changes slightly depending on the visualization, but the overall premise is normally the same. So up here on the left hand side, you can see that there are a few options here for your dashboard. So we have the file section, and you have your first option here is share, which can also be seen here. So when you want to share your dashboard and add specific people or share it generally, you have the option to do that within Data Studio, within Looker Studio. So you can add a specific name or an email address, and this email address has to have a Google account associated with it. You can't just add any email address. And then when you add them, you can choose whether they are just a normal viewer or they have access to edit the dashboard themselves. You can also manage access to people who generally already have access. So if you want to only give this to people who have the link, and this will be easier if you have to share things at scale, and then you can set it to be anyone with the link, or anyone with the link can edit or view. Or you can change it to anyone the internet can find and view. So this means that your dashboard will be public and indexed in Google. And you can have it, anyone can just view it, or anyone can find it and edit the dashboard as well. The most secure way to share your data, especially if there's going to be company sensitive information in here, will be to have it on off, and only specific people can access. And that'll be specific people that you add via email to your dashboard. You can also prevent editors from changing access and adding new people, and disable downloading, printing and copying for viewers as well. When you click onto this icon here, so this changes to the view mode, so you can view the dashboard like how your clients or your stakeholders will view the dashboard. And then when you click here, you have a few options to either refresh the data, make a copy of the dashboard, or you can go into present mode, which is something that's quite new, and it just fills the dashboard with your entire screen. So you also have access to change the overall theme and layout for your dashboard. So when you click on an individual visualization, you have the style tab. However, when it is the theme and layout section, you can edit the theme for your entire report. So you can choose from a selection of themes that are already available, and then it will update the colors accordingly. Or you can customize it and create your very own theme. So you can change the report backgrounds, the text styling, the font, the component background colors, which is for your individual visualizations, and also their border color. However, if you've already set a component background color in the style tab, when you click on it, that will override what you do at the theme level. So in order for it to work at the theme level, you have to remove any formatting that you've done for your visualizations on the style tab, which is this tab here, or just don't add any visualization for the style tab and just leave it all to the theme. How you do that is entirely up to you. Theme layout is here, but it can also be found here as well. And then you can add the border shadow default. A lot of the options that you see on the style tab when you click on the visualization can also be found here. So you have the accent styles, which is the secondary font color. So you've got the text and the component background. You have text box styles. So if you add any text box, you can style them up. So choosing the fill colors, which is the background color for a text box, the text and the font. And also if anyone clicks on any links, that'll be the color of the link. And you have the link style, so the actual link will be blue and purple once it's clicked on. And you have the option to hide the border. And then you have your palette. So these are your color options for your visualization, your dashboard in general. And these can be changed. So you can click custom. You can add in custom hex or RGB codes for your dashboard. So if you have specific brands that you're working for and they have like strict brand guidelines, or if you just want to make your dashboards more presentable, more brand friendly, then using your company's hex colors and applying it to your dashboard is a no-brainer. You can set this to be based on series order, or for your charts, or based on dimension values. And series order will just use a chart palette. But if you set dimension values, then you'll have specific colors for each dimension, and then you can change that, change the value and the color of each dimension as you so please. The rest we've kind of seen before. You have component grid styling, up and down, so negative or positive change, and the page navigation styling. So you have your font color, navigation font color, and then your background as a result. You also have report settings. So these are settings that will, if enabled, will override your entire report and will provide default settings for your entire report basically. So by default it is always empty, but if you want there to be defaults in, then you can do that. So you can add in your data source for your default, and in this case it's an error, but if we reload then it should be fine. Another thing with Data Studio as well is that expect to see error messages happen all the time. 9 times out of 10 they can be resolved by a reload of the page when it's something small like that. So you can add your data source, and then you can also add in Google Maps information. So if you want to add your API key, you can add that. And the same for Google Analytics Measurement IDs, which is for GA4 or for your Universal Analytics. And you can also change your default date range as well. So by default, the automatic mode is last 28 days. But if you want to change that to be something else, then you can change that in here, and that will impact the whole report as well. And you can also add a report level filter. So if you add a filter in here, this will impact the entire dashboard. So if you want to filter the entire dashboard to US data instead of filtering individual visualizations, you can do that in the report settings section. So version history will simply just show you previous versions of the dashboard. It speaks for itself. Then you have publishing settings as well. So what this does is it just enables you to turn on manual publishing rather than publishing automatically. Because Looker Studio is all cloud-based, when you make changes to the dashboard, they reflect in real time. But you can make changes to your dashboard and they will not reflect until you manually publish them. So if I enable this, you will see that there's now 2 changes that happen. So this is now telling us that we're in the draft version of the report, and there's now a publish icon that's appeared there. So if we make a change to the dashboard, we now have to click publish, and this means that the draft version is what we see and the published version is what your viewers will see. And if you want the both to be reflected, you just simply have to click publish and it will update for everyone. So that can be quite useful if you're working on Looker Studio dashboards that are shared with lots of people and you don't want to change the dashboard while lots of people are viewing it. So you might want to consider enabling manual publishing as a result. And here you can also create a new report, make a copy, download the report as a PDF, or see the options to embed the report. So when you enable the embedding, you have the code that you can embed the report through an iframe, or you can have a URL that you can use to embed it instead. The editing is pretty standard, so you have your undo, copy, paste, and select tool that you typically see. And then with View, you can change how you view your Google Data Studio how you view your Looker Studio dashboard. So, excuse me. So you can automatically it shows navigation in edit mode, and this means that it will show you if you have multiple pages essentially, so you can navigate in between the two. And then you have the Snap to Grids or Smart Guides, and Smart Guides is enabled by default. You can have the View Grid, so you can actually see the grid itself. You can change the grid size, grid padding, horizontal offset, vertical offset, and then reset the panel layouts or refresh the data. And then here you have the insert. So this is where all your visualizations can be inserted from. So you have all the different visualizations that are enabled in Data Studio by default. So you have the time series chart, for example, column chart, which is a bar chart. You have a combination chart, which is time series and bar chart. And then you have pie chart, table, bubble map, field map, scorecards, scatter chart, pivot table, lots of visualization options. And then you also have your filter options, so you can have a drop-down filter inserted, a fixed size list filter, an input box filter, advanced filter, which has multiple options, slider or tick box. Then you also have date range controls as well. So this will add in a filter essentially, which you can use to amend the date range for your entire data. And you can amend it to be for specific visualizations or for the entire report. You have data control, which you can use to actually change the data on a report. So if you have a report which is a generic YouTube dashboard or Google Analytics dashboard, you can add a data control where a viewer can come in and they can switch the data to be for their Google Analytics profile or for a different one than it was originally set up as. You have, you can insert a URL embed, so you can embed an actual URL destination within your dashboard. Text, image, line, rectangle or circles, or a brand new page. You can also insert a new page within here, so you can see there's page 1, page 2. You can duplicate the page, delete the page, current page settings, so look at the current settings, and you have the setup and the style, which is all very basic. And then you can hide the current page in view mode so that viewers don't see the dashboard. You can manage all your pages or navigate to different pages as well. So you can also arrange elements on your dashboard, so you can bring elements to the front, forwards, back, or send it to the back. You can align it. If you've selected multiple visualizations, you can align it horizontally or vertically. You can make something report level, which can be quite useful if you want to see the same filter across a report. You can make a report level. You can also get to this by right-clicking as well, and you'll see options to make a specific visualization report level as well. And you can do this with filters, as mentioned before, which can be really useful when building your dashboards. You make things page level, so something was report level, you can make it page level, and everything will be page level by default. And then you can group various visualizations together or ungroup them. So in resources, you can manage added data sources. So all the data sources that you've added to the dashboard, you can see them all within here. You can make edits, you can duplicate them, or you can remove them. And you can also add a new data source in this view. You can manage blends. So blends is when you join one or more data sets. So you can also manage blends, and a blend is when you can join 2 or more data sets together within within Looker Studio, and we'll get to how to do this in a moment. You can manage segments. So if you've imported any segments from Google Analytics, you can manage those within this dashboard. Same with all the filters that you've created. Dimension value colors, so just the value colors that you assign to dimensions. Managing report URL parameters. So if you have any parameters, then you can manage them within here. And community visualizations as well. So if you enable any community visualizations, you'll see them all within here. And then the next is just help section, where you can see the community forum, release notes, request a feature, watch some tutorials, and help in general. Up here you can see that there's a few more tools. So you can undo, you can go into selection mode, which is always in default, navigate between pages, add data, add a chart, and then add community visualizations. And in here you're shown 4 by default, but you can see more community visualizations, and there's quite a decent selection of them. You can add a data control, so these are options of filters. So you can add in different kinds of filters, or you can add a data control or a data range control. And with data control, you can swap out the data that the dashboard is using as a viewer. You have shortcut to embed, to insert an image, text, line, and shape. And you also, there's another shortcut to theme and layout. So now that you fully understand all of the sections of Google Data Studio, we're now going to continue building this dashboard. So we're going to make a very basic YouTube performance report. So we have our table there, and we're going to want to add in some scorecards. So let's add in a couple scorecards. So one, we want it to be views. So this will just be the sum of views. And I want to change the styling a little bit because it doesn't look great like this. So add it in the middle, and then we'll add some more, at the top, and I like that. So copy this, and then let's change views for total watch time, and I want to make that a bit bigger. And then you can see that as I'm dragging this, it's making sure that it's showing you when the distance between each scorecard is equal, and that can be really useful just for make sure that there's a good amount of distance between each visualization on your dashboard, and it just makes it easier to have a more consistent and professional feel. So let's say you want to add subscribers, user subscribers added. So there's some of that, so there was 19 in the period. And let's also add in likes. So video likes added. Cool. So let's say we want to change the background. So let's change let's go in the theme, customize, and let's make the report background a light gray. And let's make the components a white, so they stand out. So because we changed this one earlier, we need to override it. So if we go on the background of it, was it here? Yeah, it was here. And just click reset, and reset, and reset. So now that is, I think that's grey still. Let's just double check. Reset. So that is now grey. So let's look at theme and layout again. Okay, and now it's turned white like it should do. Great. So let's add in some other charts as well. So let's say we want to keep this that length, but bring it down and add in some more charts. So let's say we want to have a trended view of our views. So add in a time series chart. And then we have views by date. So that's exactly what we want. And the date range is automatic. If we want it to be year over year, we can do that. So we just look at versus the previous year and click apply. And we can see the views versus the previous year. You can also add points, so it'll show each point which is a specific day. If you like to see that on your dashboards, you can add that in as well. And let's copy and paste that and add in another view, and let's change it to a pie chart, and let's look at subscription status. So is subscribed, yes or no? And yes, so we can see that. So 99% of the viewers weren't subscribed and 1.1% were. That is not very easy to see. So if we click on style, we can do slice order, and we can make this yellow instead. And that's now changed the color to be orange instead, so it just makes it a little bit more visible. We can make that a brighter orange. There we go. And that is now working. So let's say the last thing we want to do is just add some branding. So let's get the YouTube logo. Let's download it from here. Let's just save the image and downloads. And then insert the image. Cool. And then we have that, so we just hit resize it. And probably one more thing that we want to do is add in some filters, so that we can at least filter the view by like date range, for example. So what we might want to do is just make some more room for it and reduce the size in the gap anyway, and then add a control. So let's add a date range control. And then this will give us the option to amend the date ranges of each visualization. So let's just put that to like there. Cool. And if we click view, so now we can now change it to any date range that we want. So the whole report is at the moment last 28 days. We want to change to just the last 7. That now updates the entire report. And then if we want to share this, we can just share this with individual people or change it to anyone with the link can view it. And then you save it, copy the link, and then share it with whoever is you'd like to share it with. We still have that one page left, so we can delete this page because you won't need it. So if you just click here, just click delete. You can also rename pages as well. So we could call this the overview page. And that's that. So I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial of how to use Looker Studio. If you found it useful, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you would like to have more videos covering Looker Studio, more tips, tricks, tutorials, let me know in the comment section down below. And I will see you on my next video.